This is Chris Hansen. I just got off of making a video of what's going on here in Hawaii. As soon as I got up this morning, just blasphemies of the Holy Spirit started hitting me, running straight through my head like a stream. While I was laying down, um, I tried making a camcorder video. I sat here and explained everything, and then when I stopped the video, it said unable to capture media. They're taking my videos, making it so I can't make regular videos because I can put both of them to YouTube or Facebook, either one. So I did a live video on Facebook, and this is a live video right now on YouTube. Right now the time is 12:48 Monday, 3:18. Hopefully they don't blur and white out the screen here. And they did it. So this will just reflect that they actually do sometimes. Um, and how I can put the phone right to the screen and it can be clear at times, and then other times it's just so white you can't see nothing. That's what they do. They operate your internal parts of your phone. They blur your camera. They just make it for your videos ain't don't show up. They take your data. You you know, they falsify the clock. They move the time on it. Sometimes they stop the timer. Um, then they restart it. They cut the signal on your phone. Then they start it. They do all types of terrorism on the American people with the psychotronics. Right now, as soon as I sat down here to get on the computer, I got the computer started up. I didn't even go on the computer yet. I'm fixing to go through my memory chip here and put it here in this slot where the memory chips go. Right here, I can put it in this SD slot here, and it'll read my memory chip. Um, I'm fixing to transfer these videos over to the computer, and then when I find out that they're actually on my memory chip, I went and bought a memory chip yesterday, and they actually didn't allow it to go to my memory chip. And or it's on my memory chip and they're not popping the pictures up because it says that there's data used on my memory chip, so there's got to be pictures there. um, I just bought the memory chip and now there's laughing. Little lady blasphemers laugh, which I think they also use a computer uh, animated laugh. It sounds like her. Barry Trower says this thing can be anybody, anything, and any voice. And I know it can. I've heard my own mother's voice and my dad through a walkie-talkie with a security guard. Anything that works on a radio microwave or a radio signal, I've heard them talk through ghetto blasters before while the radio was playing. I've heard them talk through the TV. You know, anything that has a radio signal, they can work through it. Any kind of electronics, which is it's electronic harassment, which is considered terrorism. Um, and the Michigan's anti-electronic harassment law. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're committing terrorism on their own people, and not only that, but they're committing first degree murder with people through induced suicide by torturing them to where they can't take it no more. They feel like they got no outlet. Either that, these people are grabbing knives and they're trying to chase these people down that will not quit terrorizing them. And the police are involved in covering these guys up. They usually show up and they shoot the people to death. Then they have the public, they tell the public that they're all mental patients and that it's all a mental health thing. And that's why we need to take the weapons out of these people's hands. To me, they're the only true Americans that are actually standing up doing something. I don't particularly plan on going up that avenue and tracking somebody down, because you might get one of them, if you're lucky, um, that is committing this terrorism on the American people. Um, and you might participate in fighting the war on terror, but you're not certified, army or something, taking the oath of, foreign or domestic, you know. I mean, even though you're defending your life, and that they tell you they're trying to walk you into your death, you know. That's what these hyper game people are doing. They're using extreme uh, torture, and they're able to commit the maximum amount of torture remotely without any device hooked up to you. I mean, they tell you this, you know, and they're not even trying to hide it. That's what Jesse Ventura says. And these targeted victims, they're not crazy after all, which I already knew I was never crazy or mental. Will tell you that we are being tortured, that they are torturing us, you know. Um, this is a premeditated thought. I've thought about it before, that if I got so out of my head where I couldn't take it anymore and I did flip out, you know, what kind of defense would I try to use? And the only thing that I can think of in the law, because they make all these laws to stop people, is maybe justifiable homicide. I mean, just trying to get somebody off you to the point where they don't kill you anymore, don't torture you anymore, don't, I mean, for God's sakes, man, these women, man, I mean, when they're beaten, they're beat down, and everything, and their husband is just beating them, and I mean, just raping them, and where they can't take it no more. I mean, that and they can't leave, and they can't, I mean, they take it out on the boyfriend. They wind up killing the boyfriend. I've seen a couple of them get off. I'm not trying to get off. I'm not trying to even do anything like that. I just want the terrorism to stop on me. I don't want to be shot to death. I don't want to spend any more time in prison. I have been in prison before. It was a property crime. It wasn't a violent crime. A friend of mine, if you could call him a friend, I don't associate with him anymore. I did a B&E when I was younger. I did some prison time over it. I don't think that way anymore, and I do not. I never plan on doing anything like that again. Although people here in Honolulu Police Department have had me trespassed from the library with their Masonic stuff, talking behind me, harassing me with organized gang stalkers, and to the point where when I got mad enough to say something about it, or confront them on their harassment, they actually, not only that, 7-Eleven did the same thing here in Hawaii. They started a group harassment thing in this business, and that's what they're doing. They're getting all these businesses together. Michael Hogard could explain that really well. Although I think he's kind of like a brown noser. He's a pastor, but he's so up the Masonic line that I think if it come down to it, he would be a coward. He would be one of the cowards to not further the gospel going forward. I talked to him live one time on the phone, and I asked him, what does he think about this Project Bluebeam, and what does he think about the psychotronics on the American people? And he said that there was a guy killed over it, but it does not. He doesn't believe it, basically. And at the time, it was and still is going on with me. Robert Duncan's telling people that it's going on, this and that, but Pastor Hogard, who preaches all this stuff on the Masons, says that it isn't going on, and actually sides with the terrorist, and he's a pastor. I said, you know what, Pastor Hogard? I said, I don't know exactly what I said. I just basically I hung up on him. You know, I still watch his videos for information. I mean, his information in a lot of areas is true, but he will not confess to this going on, even though somebody lost their life, and made notes, more notes of what I'm making on what's going on with me, probably. He was assassinated and killed by the government, as what people's educated guesses state. Although nobody could probably prove that. He lost his life telling people about what's going on. And then now, of course, Robert Duncan's sitting here stating it, and he's running around telling everybody about it, you know, and nothing's happened to him from the government. But that's, of course, he's one of the government's employees, you know, who actually created this stuff. He's going around freely saying that it's going on now. And I'm sure that he'll be, they're saying right now, I'm saying a lot of incriminating evidence, evidence on what, I have no idea. This is a lady blasphemer. It's coming from this window over here. Actually, point this way. It's coming from this window over here from the east direction. This is actually what I believe. You know, I'm smarter than these guys that are losing it. I've lost it so bad before in my own head that I just didn't think I was going to survive such extreme utter terrorism, just such extreme utter torture that was going on from these Masonic Eastern Star radical ideological extremists that are together with the Satanists and these cult members. I mean, the police departments are involved. The people are involved. The police department covers it up. I mean, when you got the police department sitting here in a town and everybody's doing this to you in the town and the police department, I mean, you got nowhere to call. Nothing. You can't do nothing about it. And they're right next door to you. I mean, it's really, really hard not to really just pick up a baseball bat or something and go off on them, you know. I mean, just to save your life. But you already know, man, that the police are going to immediately come. I made a complaint on this one Satanist that was next to me. They had psychotronics pointing at me through the walls. At least I believe that they did. This stuff can still go through the walls, but they're operating out of houses. I heard her voice go through the towers, through the cell towers. So obviously she got raised to a level of trustworthiness or whatever, or they honored her by sponsoring her through one of these towers. Right in the state of Michigan, her voice was being played through these towers, through the air, while I was driving down the road with my mother in a car. I was hearing her voice, and I'm thinking, man, you know, this is so bad, you know, that it's so conspiracy, it's so in your face. I utterly couldn't believe that they did that, and they did that to honor her, to show her something. And I called the police department immediately. The police come in and start yelling at me, "What's going on? What are you? Whoa, blah blah blah." I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, man, you're yelling at the wrong person. I'm calling because of her harassing me. What's she harassing you about? What are you calling us for? Blah, blah, blah. And then he went next door. Excuse me, ma'am. He says, oh, excuse me, Robin. He says, what's going on here? What's up with this guy? And he started whispering. And when you do a studying in occult literature, I studied apologetics for a lot of years, on cults and stuff like that. You'll find the demons and these cult members whisper to one another. It's kind of a demonic thing. It even speaks about whispers in the Bible. And that's exactly what the police officer did. And now they're saying right now, you're lucky you ain't stained, man. You're lucky you ain't dead. Um, um, so, anyways, this happened in Clio, Michigan. Um, and the other stuff is going on in Montrose, Michigan. And right now I'm in Oahu, Hawaii. I was chased here by organized gang stalkers. And I'm going to quit this video. I'm actually going to look up some stuff on Jesse Ventura and him talking about his first degree murder, on the people, and this guy over here next door through this window over here. This is next door over here. He's been doing this like boat horn, this foghorn thing the last couple days. That's his thing. He's been ringing that off instead of honking a car horn at certain timing. With something's going on or something where he wants to play control freak. He's been letting that off. Um, you know, so these are the guys that make the complaints to the landlord and Monica and stuff like that, who are being basically guarded and protected, who are getting people evicted out of their homes, and how people are becoming homeless and losing their homes, and then they try to make it a mental health thing, saying that the person's unstable. Just look at them. If you look, I mean, some of these people are just. I mean, they're gone with psychotronics in their head. You can tell that they're being tortured, and they're wandering around kind of in a cloud, man, like, and I mean, these officers, man, just shot this guy to death, man. I mean, I don't know how many there was, but they just shot this black guy. He had a knife, and he was, but I mean, they got foam they can spray on you. They got tasers. They come up with riot shotguns, man. The Michigan State Police encircled him and just blew him away, man, with shotguns, man, riot shotguns. And you could tell the guy was out of his head, man, and there's something wasn't right in his brain from these psychotronics, I believe. Um, and now they're saying, oh, he's got a history of mental. You know what? They sit there and they put you into the system. They make you go through stuff. They make you, I'm a mental health patient, supposedly. When I signed up for SSI, man, because I needed help, right? I was up and down, man. I was back and forth. I couldn't find a job. A lot of times when I found a job, man, just circumstances would happen. Oh, one of my jobs, man, just closed down because the guy, I was working for the Mount Rose Tire Shredders loading semi, and the guy his business collapsed because he went out and bought a shredder, and everybody told him don't get it, man, because it's too expensive, and if you don't make the money to pay for it and your company, and his whole business closed down, and it just there's just a lot of circumstances, so I filed for SSI because I needed help, man, and I found out, man, that they put you in through this mental health racket system. They ask you, have you ever been depressed? I said, yeah, man. I said, look at life, man. Yeah, I'm depressed, man. But I'm not mentally, clinically manic depressive. I never have been. I mean, so they tell you, oh well, we gotta put you on something in order for there to be paperwork, so you can get a check, or whatever. And then so you find out you're taking these pills, you know what I'm saying, and everything, and I mean, I believe I got post traumatic stress syndrome from prison. I believe that's legitimate. Uh, just anxiety. With all the torture that I'm going through right now and everything else, and they're saying this is the one now. I'm surprised I haven't lost my sanity. But you know what? I'm very coherent. I understand everything. And now they're saying this is the one where he's gonna flop on his head now, man, because he understands everything. He's not delusional. He's not, blah blah blah. If anything happens, man, here we got him right on film, man, stating everything. Um, you know what, man? I never tried fraud in any system. I went to the system, man, because I needed help. I got approved by the government, man, for being a legitimate candidate and receiving a check. Okay. They went by my psychologists and my psychiatrists and people that I seen, because I was troubled growing up. And I've had to see school counselors before, you know. I've been in special ed classes, uh, mainly because I was acting out, you know, and I was creating trouble for the other classes basically, and they stuck me in some remedial classes. Um, I remember Mrs. Ruttman, you know, we had this SAT test or whatever, and um, I was in a remedial class. It was reading comprehension, and when I did the test, um, she said that I scored too high. She had to get another book to check the results of the test, and she said that my reading and comprehension. I was a freshman. I was in ninth grade in high school, and she said that I had a college level, sophomore college level reading and comprehension level when I was in ninth grade in high school. Um, so I've never been smart. I understand what's going on. I can comprehend what they're doing. And not only that, but I put stuff together um, just by learning a little here and there what they're doing. This is before I even seen Duncan. This is before I seen Jesse Ventura. This is before I seen Barry Trower. And I know I can identify with what they're doing and what they said. And what they've said and what I feel. And what's going on, the voice to skull, and what they're saying. It's not hard to put together. Not at all. You know? And the people, man, that are actually honking the horns, honk, honk, beep, beep, slam, making your life just total misery while the police come up, man, and nudge them, and they're doing this. It's not hard to see they're Masons. It's not hard to see that they're Masonic Luciferians because they say they are. Their godfather, Albert Pike, who's the godfather of Freemasonry, which I find out the other guy is actually older than Albert Pike, the one who died for the lodge, supposedly. Well, it's now they're pulling from my brain. It was right on the tip of my tongue, but they're locking my brain. I can feel it. Or they just shut off a part of my brain so I can't remember who this guy is. And now I can. It was Jacques Demolay. You know, I anyways, Albert Pike states that Lucifer's God. They believe that he's the light bearer. That's the French Masons gave the, what they call Lady Liberty or whatever. They say that that's the torch that's Lucifer's light, you know. Um, there's so much Luciferianism mixed up with these satanic groups. I mean, there's a group that was just across on the balcony where I feed this cat, when I used to sleep by the storage unit, because I didn't have a place, They make you jump through hoops, man. What I make on SSI is not enough to get an apartment unless I am subsidized by the state. The state is in on all this organized gang stalking when people are targeted, and or they're made to sign stuff to cover it up, like they don't know what's going on. I'll be lucky if I ever get into housing. Being homeless is not something that I want to be. It's not something that I want. That's actually why I filed for SSI, man, because I needed some help. I mean, I was working at this retirement hotel. I mean, there was a political thing going on with them where sewer water was coming up in the kitchen and they were snaking it out every week, and they were saying because it was on the sidewalk that it was the public. It was just, they were saying it was the state's job to take care of it. The state was saying because it's on the property that's considered theirs or whatever on that particular block, that it was their job to take care of it. So nobody took care of it. In the meantime, we were walking through feces, shit water, in a retirement hotel, through the dining room, serving food. And it got to the point where I was so ticked about it that I was walking through it, room service, walking through this crap down the hall, up the elevator, down the hall. I got tired. I started bitching about it, and anyways, make a long story short, I put in my 2 week notice, and the day I put in my 2 weeks notice, the next day they fired me, which I found out was a blessing, because if you quit, you don't get unemployment. So I was immediately, because it was a live-in work position, I was immediately homeless again. When you get out of prison, when you mess up, it's lucky if you can have a place to parole to, because some people, man, they lose their trust in you, man. They don't want you around no more. They're fed up, man. They don't want to deal with stuff anymore, and it's understandable, and so you find yourself, man, either living with a friend or something, man. I mean, I've been on tether, a lot of stuff in my life, man, I'm not proud of, and I just repent of it. Jesus, it's hard, man. Life's hard. And now I find myself, man, I'm staying with this guy here. He's letting me stay here. It's not necessarily legal. Or I'd be on the street, man, in this monsoon rainstorm, man, under a tarp, man, at 51 years old. Because the only reason I'm here, man, is because these organized gang stalkers that chased me out of my home. Because they're coming in around people and they're making it impossible for a person like me, who's a Christian and believes in the Lord Jesus Christ, Yeshua, the Hebrew name, our Mashiach, he is the Messiah, to get a place. I was forced out of a government facility. You know, they wrote a bunch of bold write-ups. One lady told me, oh, it's like, she said, it's not hard to spot him. That's like spotting a piece of hay in a stack of needles. That's what she said. And the Bible says, you know, there are spots in your feasts, and they sit and they eat, you know, and they turn it around and they say, oh, it's not hard to spot them, you know. I had, you know, just come across the air one day. They says, you know, Satan's the god of this world, you know, and it's our job to spot you. This is our world, so why don't you get the fuck off our earth? That's what they said, you know. It's our job to spot you. Oh, God forgive me for swearing. You know, it's God says the earth is his and the fullness thereof. You know, it's God's earth. He might be the God of this world, but he's the God of this worldly system. But the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Anyways, I'm going to end this video. My name's Chris Hansen. I'm being tortured by the U.S. federal government every day as they laugh right now from the east, from one of these extremely low frequency boxes that travel at the speed of light, these radio waves. I hear the people still from my hometown at times coming through this. So I see where Barry Trower says that, you know, distance and time is irrelevant when it comes to this equipment. It was either him or Dr. Robert Duncan. You know, it's irrelevant. You know, I mean, when I'm 5,000 miles away, but this stuff travels at 186,200 miles per second. So it's like real time. It's so fast that it doesn't matter if they're still in my hometown. They just connect it with satellites. They bounce it up and down like a phone call. I mean, you know, it's faster than a phone call. I mean, I got to listen for the ringing, man, and somebody to answer with a phone call. You know, I mean, this stuff here, it's just zip, man. It's like you hear it. You know, so this stuff, these satellites in space, man, that are beaming this stuff down, that are focusing these lasers and just following people everywhere they go. I mean, it's instantaneous. It's Chris Hansen, OAHU, Hawaii, government terrorism on the American people.